It's Pontus time once again. Last time we started moving into Caucasus, really quickly taking two settlements from the Kartli and the Ardhan, so that's going to help us complete our objectives at the moment. Then we ended up in another war with Atropatkan and friends down to the south. The and friends part actually went in our favour because we subjugated them and turned them against their masters. Then we went on to attack them, taking on this pretty challenging battle and actually taking significant losses in it due to our pike phalanxes being totally messed up, but we got the victory in the end. Here's the result from that fight. We did lose one full unit and the rest of our frontline units aren't in very good condition, so we can't really fight anymore with this army. We shouldn't need to though, the enemy army is gone, and now what we can do is liberate a faction here which will give us a big buffer between our territory and that of Atropatkan. Now there are two regions between us and them. It's unlikely they're going to do any damage, so we don't really need to pursue this war any further. Plus what I can do is go into the diplomacy menu and get this new faction I've created, the Atropatkan usurpers, to declare war on Atropatkan, which would be appropriate given their name, and all I need to do is trade with them to make them do that. So since they're so willing, we can even get some cash from the deal, so that's nice. And anyway, this will mean that Atropatkan basically have no chance of doing anything against us. We'll have to go through a couple of factions just to get to our border, and more likely than not, Atropatkan will lose this tiny war in the corner and we can just ignore them. They might eventually disappear. I think they're also at war with other factions nearby as well, so they're probably feeling a lot of pressure. So Mithridates is going to start heading home. We need to replenish the army and just look for something else for him to do. Meanwhile, Ariobarzanes, far to the north, is going on a little crusade that I talked about last time. We're going to go and lay the beat down on the Kartli just because they won't get peace with us and we need our borders to be secure. So we're just going to go and defeat them again. No interest in the territory. We just want to gain a political victory here. I'm just taking a look round. They don't seem to have all that much in the way of military. I was confident they had something else somewhere else, but we didn't see it, and in fact in the next turn what they had seemed to have reduced, because now the main army we saw last time isn't there anymore. I can't actually attack them right now, so I'm just going to fortify a tiny bit up the road, be in a position to attack them next time basically, and if they do come out of the fog of war with an extra army that I don't know about, we'll be safe with our fort there to make a defense nice and easy. I did find their army though. It seems to be up here. Maybe they were fighting rebels, or they're at war with someone just over the border there, or maybe they were just running away, I'm not sure. Now you may remember I'm supposed to be getting an alliance with the Seleucids. I have got trade with them, but it's proving really hard to get a non-aggression pact, which would be the first step to getting the alliance that we need. And at this point, I've lost so much money on these endeavours that I'm basically thinking let's just not bother. Let's skip over that objective to get us some other objectives to look into doing, since we need to give Mithridates something to do, as I said. So in order to complete the chapter and get our new objectives, I just have to have 60 units in the field. So all I need to do is make this all skirmishers stack, the cheapest stack I can, to bring our unit count up to that level. This will trigger the next chapter and then we can actually just get rid of that army. So I also noticed that the Ptolemaic Empire is doing particularly well for itself and is currently conquering Rhodos, so now they're going to border us even more than they did previously. Fortunately, they seem to quite like us. They've got a big advantage in terms of power, but their positive relationship with us will hopefully mean that these added borders won't lead to added border tension. They are all along our southwestern border. They even have a region in one of our provinces. So let's try and be nice to them, for now at least, since we need to focus on other things. Now into the next turn, the Kartli forces are still doing strange maneuvers. Their main force has disappeared, and the two armies that were near their settlement have moved slightly away from it. Not far away enough though to not be in reinforcement range. Not that that especially matters. All we need to know is what's in the settlement. The garrison's actually pretty big with some decent units. We can use a night attack of course to get rid of those other armies, so we're just going to face this garrison. That's why it only matters what's sitting in the settlement. The auto-resolve wasn't very good, even though that balance bar looked pretty far in our favour. I think it's one of these cases where once the battle starts, it's a tiny bit more in their favour than it was before, so we do need to work this out manually. In we go then for a nice night attack, going to attack from multiple directions as usual. I'm being hesitant to attack right away because I have quite a lot of these Armenian archers, so we can just rain arrows on stuff towards the edge of the enemy's formation, and in particular take out enemy archers, so we'll have even more of a ranged advantage. Fortunately, we severely outnumber the enemy's archers locally here, so this one unit's just going to go right down. It wasn't even really firing back at us by the looks of things, so that's going to help out. Once they're gone, we can move into the space they previously occupied and prepare to attack some other avenues. Once again though, we don't want to be too hasty. We do have lots of ranged weapons we can take advantage of. We'll rain more arrows on these guys, and I've got lots of swordsmen in this army that also throw javelins, so we'll just use that to smash the enemy up a little bit before we get started. And since they don't have much to return fire with, this is going to be pretty safe. We can actually kill tons and tons of stuff before we attack. And with the enemy's siege AI being very scripted in Rome 2, they don't like to go beyond certain boundaries. If we just stand slightly beyond their attack range, or the AI's consideration range, they won't attack us. So you can kind of see this here. These archers are just standing here and doing nothing. We're in their range even, and they're not attacking us. Not really sure why, but this is all working to our advantage as we slowly filter more troops into the town and start getting into flanking positions. Eventually, we actually make contact with enemy units, and the fighting is finally going to get started, but we're going to have lots of opportunities for flanking. I've got two units here blocking this particular part of the road, facing off against many units from the front where we should have an advantage. Two more units of hoplites doing pretty much the exact same thing, just on another approach here. There are some swordsmen behind them throwing the odd javelin over the top just to support there, and they're going to push into the melee later to help out a bit. And the main action is going to happen over here, where half the enemy's army has gone to attack one of my sword units, and it's left itself completely exposed to a flank attack. So I'm going to rush in with loads of extra units and our cavalry to just start doing the damage here. Atropatkan is joining this attack to lead it from the very front. The enemy's in huge trouble, and as we attack, we start seeing mass routes here. They're trying to get out of there, but they're routing into the units that are attacking them from the back, so that's not going to work. My cavalry just ran over to start taking the capture point, but there was no real point doing that. I thought we might as well just finish the enemy off. Their apathetic archers are now going to go right down to this mass cavalry assault, and the units in front of them are already running away from our hoplites, who were just doing very well attacking them normally with their frontal power. There are the swordsmen, a bit more versatile and useful for chasing down the retreating enemies, but we don't really need them at all in this battle. We've got this fight in the bag. We just have to attack the last few units on that street over there, and we've got them 100% rear flanked. They rout before we get there, but it's not going to save them. It's over for them. We don't need to chase them down because it's a settlement assault. All surviving units just disappear into the ether after things, so the battle is going to end there. A decisive victory. Atropatkan is showing his father Mithridates how to do a settlement assault. That went much, much better than the fight we saw in the previous episode. Hopefully we can learn some lessons from this, or the lessons will be sent back to the king. The casualties for our side in that battle were virtually zero. That was quite an incredible fight actually. I'm going to use that win to create a new faction here, just so that we have someone who likes us sitting on our border. Kartli are now doomed because they have no territory and virtually no troops. What they have are taking attrition. We'll soon be rid of them at this point, I think. So effectively we can just start going back now. I did need to get this new faction to join a war against Kartli. That just guarantees that they'll finish off the survivors for me, and they're not going to get up to no good. They could, in principle, go and raid on our border or something, which would be really annoying. But now we don't have to worry about that. They're probably just going to go off and die somewhere without us even realizing. Now moving on, I did recruit enough skirmishers to complete that mission. It said here that I only did one of the 3 bonus objectives. I was pretty sure it was 2, but we'll see why it says that in a moment. So with that done, we now have new objectives. The main objective is to have, I think it was at least 1 region in 11 different provinces, so that's going to take a while. That'll probably be the end of the series by the time we get to something like that. Let's take a look at the objectives in the meantime. We need to hold all of Bithynia et Pontus, which we already do, and all of Galatia et Cappadocia. That's more difficult because we need to take Sidé to do that, which is owned by the Ptolemaic Empire, who, as we noted, are becoming more and more dominant. I also didn't want to declare war on the Ptolemaic Empire in this series, just because it's what I did in my last series, and it pretty much defined the last series, so didn't want to end up doing the same thing and capturing the same places. But anyway, let's move on to the other objectives once I hack through this news. We have to be at war with the Galatians, which we defeated, or who we defeated many turns ago, so that just gives us a completed one already, so that's nice. The next one, we need to control something in Galatia and Cappadocia, which we already do, and something in Asia. The problem with that one is that Asia is entirely controlled by the Ptolemaic Empire, so now 2 of our bonus objectives require us to go to war with the Ptolemaics. It seems we are actually going to have to do this if I'm going to stick to my plan. We might be able to get peace with them once those objectives are done, but I think it's unlikely. We're going to think about that far in the future though, because my last objective was to take all of Bosphorus, and that's what we'll be focusing on first, just because it's the easiest one. And the fact it asked us to actually go for Bosphorus made me realise that in the previous chapter, my objective to take either something in Caucasus or Bosphorus was actually the objective to take something in Caucasus and Bosphorus. I didn't realise. Now we have one that's the same, that Galatia, Cappadocia and Asia one. So that's why I didn't complete my bonus objective. We were actually supposed to be up there previously, but we're going to be going there now, so we are going to complete the last chapter's bonus objective retrospectively, I suppose, so that'll be nice. You can see I was considering sending Mithridates down to attack Atropatkan again, just to finish them off, but now that we have something to do, there's no point doing that. We'll bring him back up and get him to be part of the invasion force heading up to the northwest. One of the main factions we'll have to fight up there is going to be Phanagoria, so we need to get rid of our defensive alliance with them for starters. Hopefully if we wait long enough we'll be able to do that war without any diplomatic penalties. Beyond them are the nomads, but we'll look into them when the time comes. For now, I actually wanted to do a slightly different project. I was looking at Ardhan over here. We fought them previously and they still hate us, and I wanted to know, could we go over and do the same thing to them that we did to Kartli, just turn them into an allied state so we can know they're not going to get up to any mischief while we're focusing on things to the west. There was a bit of a problem though. I'm investigating the stats, comparing our hoplites to their spearmen. They have this spear unit that's both cheaper than our hoplites and significantly better in terms of stats, and they have quite a lot of them. So it seems we might be in a bit of trouble if we actually attack these guys. It was the same deal comparing our swordsmen to their swordsmen, so they seem to have a very heavily armed military, and of course they're sitting on top of a settlement. That's going to give them almost a full stack of additional troops, which might be a tiny bit of a challenge just to deal with on their own. So with all that together, we can't necessarily just go and make them our allies so lightly. We need to do a tiny bit more planning. I decided to declare war on them anyway, just to see if an opportunity would arise to attack them. You never know what the AI is going to do. So I'm going to start this war, and we can try and provoke them into doing something by hiding our army nearby. So I'm going to run into their territory and look for a place where I have a high probability of hiding the army, just so the Ardhan forces might think we don't have anything nearby, and then might walk off somewhere or do something that will allow us to attack them in a superior position where we don't have to fight everything they have at once. Here's the next turn. As you can see, nothing happened, so that plan didn't work, but I immediately thought we could try something else. Having an ambush there isn't very useful because the enemy will probably move south if they move anywhere, so we won't be able to ambush them over here. But what we can do is start raiding. This may provoke them to attack us and give us a field battle where we'll be able to use some micro etc. to bring down the enemy's powerful units. So we'll just start doing that, and even if it doesn't work, it gives you the advantage of lower upkeep for the turn. So that is nice. Now, back to our northwestern crusade, I realise we probably should just take Colchis' territory because it's kind of in the way. They're also allied to Phanagoria, so we might end up at war with them anyway in the very near future. So I'm just ending our deals with them as well, getting ready for this eventuality. I've got Mithridates coming up and our little third reserve army hanging around as well, so we can be in a nice position to attack them soon. They actually have armies in our territory because we have military access with them. Hopefully they'll go back and won't attack us in the meantime. We get one of these random assassination things, this time just an attempted assassination. The guy was wounded. It was Mithridates II, Revenge of Mithridates, who we haven't actually used yet, but he's now wounded. That's not going to be a big deal for the moment. So as you can see, nothing happened on the Ardhan front. We're still raiding away. They don't seem to care. That's annoying because they're still in a really strong position that will be hard to attack. It's getting to the point where we're going to have to do this the hard way, which is also the easy way. It's just very slow. We're just going to bring all of our military over to do this. First, I'm going to recruit a few new units with our backup army to come and just trail behind Ariobarzanes so he has some more support. And Mithridates, using his very big campaign movement range, can relatively quickly swoop around to the south and come at them from another direction, either to draw them away from the settlement or to just team up and give us a massive advantage in terms of a combined military. There was one more trick we could try first, that is this, putting our smaller army in sight of the enemy. The bigger army will hide. This might draw them into an ambush. I've seen it work before, but Ardhan aren't being very interested in defending their territory or the borders of the territory very much. They just want to sit in their settlement. There goes Mithridates. He is now just one turn away from attacking them, so next time we'll have enough movement points to just rush in and take them down. Here's what we ended up with. A curious situation actually. The Ardhan army moved away from its settlement, perhaps knowing that it was going to be attacked from multiple sides and that might not be a very nice fight for them. They started moving away, but that's fine for us. I was just like, well, we've won this war. Mithridates can go back. We aren't actually going to need him because of that very bad move from Ardhan, and we can now just attack them using Ariobarzanes and the backup troops. We'll move them into reinforcement range and then just take the settlement. They are too far away to reinforce, and the garrison, while having some decent units, isn't enough to overcome everything that we have here. So that's going to be the end of that for them. We'll just auto-resolve. We are going to take some losses here. In particular, the cavalry among Ariobarzanes' army took heavy losses. I think it's because I picked the aggressive stance and that prioritises the use of cavalry, unfortunately, because they're kind of annoying to get back. But anyway, now I have to choose what I'm going to do with this place. I can liberate or subjugate. Those are the two I'm thinking about. Subjugate will turn Ardhan into our satrapy, and liberate will create an ally for ourselves. Liberate's kind of what I actually wanted to do, but subjugate has the added bonus that we actually don't have to fight that powerful army ever, in theory. So I ended up going with that. That army will now be on our side and will be forced to declare war on our enemies, so it might actually come west and help us in Bosphorus. The downside to this plan is that they really hate us still, so they might still betray us at any moment. Over time, they are going to forget about the wars, and then they actually will like us thanks to the treaties. But it's a little bit risky for the time being, so it doesn't quite achieve what I wanted here with the secure border. We can get a trade deal at least that suggests they are going to want to be friendly, so that's good news. Cultures also want to be friendly with us, as we can see here. They're quite desperate to not have us declare war on them. The problem is they're being screwed over by the province system in the game. They're in a province that we mostly own, so it's convenient and gives us some bonuses if we attack them. We get this little gift from the gods at about this point. Phanagoria end their alliance with Colchis. That means we can now attack them without also declaring war on Phanagoria at the same time. We're going to declare war on them eventually, of course, but this just makes life easier for us. We can do things at our own pace. I think it's because the allies we created out there wanted to war with Colchis, and Phanagoria didn't want to be in on that, so they've broken off with Colchis. But now this will work entirely to our own advantage. We'll just set up for an invasion. I'm giving some siege weapons here to Mithridates, so next time we come across a walled settlement, which we will do at least once up in Bosphorus, hopefully that will allow us to have a little bit of an easier time than we did the last time we tried to get into a walled settlement. So yes, we'll keep setting up, and now in the next turn we're ready to attack, and once again the gods are being very good to us. The Colchis army actually started wandering off through the mountains, and I think it's already fought with our allies up there. So while that battle is going on, their territory is undefended, and I'm going to use a very cheeky exploit to declare war on them. I'm going to join Atropatkan's war against them. I think they're only at war with Atropatkan because I forced them to, but now Atropatkan will be my satrapy if I turn things around and declare war on Colchis. So this works entirely to my favour. We're just gaining things all over the place here. Our southern border is now much more secure than it was. We'll probably be stealing some money off Atropatkan because of that, securing peace for many peoples and allies of ourselves. And of course, cultists are now in big trouble. This is going to effectively be some free territory for us. First we move in with Mithridates, the balance bar already looking good, but we've got everything nearby to just pile in on this. Ariopazanes and this other guy whose name I still haven't bothered to learn jump into the fight. Now the balance bar is super far in our favour. We'll take this place for free, and Colchis' army, which is presumably damaged, is going to have no chance of coming to take this back anytime soon, and they will be taking attrition since they've now lost their last settlement. Overall, this little sequence of events has been very fortuitous for us. It seems the start of our crusade to the northwest is going to be extremely successful. We'll see how it continues from here as we go out into the wilderness of Bosphorus in the next part.